Yes.
No.
Maybe so.
That works.
There you go.
All right.
Okay, so welcome back, everybody. I kind of took a hiatus for a couple weeks for a lot of reasons that I'm not going to get into here. But we're back, and I'm playing catch up. And what better way to start with the sequel to the movie I fucking hated that everyone else seemed to like for some reason. That's not true. I know why people liked it.
I've seen the first one like I think 3 or 4 times at this point.
Why?
Because it's fun. It's a dumb movie. It's a fun dumb movie, and it enjoys what it's doing very much. And I really like the transformation of Venom just into like this weird, goofy personality. And especially seeing like Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock just chewing the scenery, sometimes literally. There's something about it that's just kind of madcap bonkers that I really enjoy. And
Grant, you and I reviewed the first one together back when it came out a few years ago. I remember you were more forgiving on it than I was at the time.
That's a strong way. That's a strong way.
I didn't say by much. I said more forgiving.
Touche.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a good movie, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Debatable.
And I really wish that they'd given it the full R rating, because I would love to see the R-rated Venom movie that they cut like 40 minutes out of, and all the fucking gore that they originally had in there. That would have been great. And I would have loved to see, particularly the first scene where Carnage shows up in this movie done as an R-rated scene. That would have been awesome
to see some actual legit Carnage.
Yeah. But instead we get whatever this is. And sure, okay. But
okay, so I just right out of the gate, before we get into the nitty gritty, did you guys like this?
There's a reason I said maybe so.
I had fun.
I
had fun. It had its really stupid moments that made no sense. It had its really just groan-worthy moments. But overall, I had a good time, and it was kind of silly. And there were specific moments in there that really, really made it for me, and I just enjoyed it. Also, I can't fault the special effects in this movie. They look insane. Like the sheer work of animating Carnage must have been colossal, and I have to respect that.
Sure, like fair.
Yeah.
Let me just rip out the band-aid now. I did not care for this film.
What?
I did not like it.
What do you mean?
No.
I feel like you're being sarcastic.
But you're the sergeant
your
on that
feelings,
matter.
Michael.
Here's the thing. In regards to the first movie, like, I get the scenes people like about it. I can see the entertainment value in them. I wanted to like this movie. Because, like, okay, it's leaning into those elements more. It's kind of like being its own identity. It's not trying to be like an early 2000s superhero movie like the first one was. Maybe this can work. And what we kind of got, to me, felt like just a slammed together fucking mess of a film that feel like it just got edited all to hell. And it just turns into incomprehensible gobbledygook that like the laughs were too few and far between for me to really get into.
What about it was incomprehensible? Because I felt like it was a very straightforward through line. If anything, it was too straightforward for me.
That was kind of the issue I had with it too, actually.
Yeah, like what
it's
about
more
this
like
incomprehensible?
It's like it's mostly with regards to, like, the whole Carnage plot line more than anything else. Like the whole Cletus Cassidy and Shriek, their whole relation going on. The Carnage symbiote wants to kill Venom for reasons. Cletus Cassidy is a friend with Eddie for
there can be only one.
Well, reason was I absorb Venom, I get more powers. Simple as that.
Highlander stuff. Yeah.
It's basically just I need more of the symbiote, and I can be even more kick-ass.
Here's my question for Michael. Now you know more about like the actual Venom canon. Like, what is the deal with how children of symbiotes are produced?
They produce asexually.
Yeah, but like how did this fit into any of the logic at all? I was very weirded out by the whole idea.
Not really. No.
There's just, I guess I just eat a little bit of symbiote and it becomes more symbiote in me, a different symbiote. Like it grows off of my stuff. Like what?
I mean, it's more like, like the symbiotes can kind of divide and like reproduce that way. They don't just like, hey, you get a little arched on you, and then that suddenly turns into a new symbiote. Okay. Doesn't really work that way. Granted, how the Carnage origin is kind of changed and flowed depending on who's writing it. So it's one of those things like, okay, sure.
Like Tom Hardy.
Sure. Like honestly, like of the issues of the movie, like that's not the part that bothers me. It's like, okay, whatever. It's symbiote logic. It changes all the goddamn time. Whatever.
Okay.
It's more of just like I'm trying to figure out. It felt like it just jumped around from one thing to another so frequently, not in a way that I found funny or entertaining. Like to me, it just felt just like it just jumped all over the place, and I could not get into it. I wanted to get into it. Like the scenes I liked about, like I enjoyed the club scene. That was a funny little sequence. Sure, I can get into stuff like that, but it just varies in consistency and what it wants you to take seriously and what it doesn't.
Wait, it wanted you to take something seriously?
Mostly the Cletus Cassidy stuff.
Yeah,
I don't think it really did.
I feel like it did. Because again,
I just got dramatic villain music kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like
the way that Woody Harrelson was playing it, though, he wanted it to be taken seriously.
No, Woody Harrelson played it straight, but I feel like overall it was just like, oh, you have this dramatic serial killer bad guy, right? Mm-hmm. And then, but in the meantime, you've got this, he's in a movie which is pretty much just like silly, crazy bullshit.
Yeah.
And he's just being evil, and you're not necessarily supposed to laugh at it, but I don't think you're supposed to take it seriously so much as you're supposed to take like some villain in an old movie seriously.
But I kind of have the issue that I have with Prisoners of the Badlands, which is like it feels more manic than anything else, and I just couldn't really get a hold of that.
You felt Prisoners of the Badlands?
Sorry, not Badlands. What the fuck we watched?
Oh, Prisoners of Ghostland?
Ghostlands, yeah.
You felt that was manic? We were both struggling to stay awake. That was more scattered than manic. This was more hectic. Like, I can see what you mean by it being just jumping back and forth a bunch, but I was like, okay. I think there's a thing where it's not that I don't expect better things from movies, because we watch some pretty fucking good movies, but when a movie like this kind of just throws all that shit together, I find that my I guess the borderline for when I consider it unacceptable or bad is just kind of much lower.
See, because to me, this felt like the worst impulses of Fantastic Four 2. That's what this movie felt like to me. Yeah. I'm not saying it's bad as Fantastic Four 2, just the worst impulses of that film. And to a lot of unnecessary like superhero sequelitis, where like the superhero loses their power for no reason. There's a lot like weird random dance sequences that are there for some reason, a lot of meandering plot lines and like just random shit happening that have no connective through thread and nothing really interesting, and I wouldn't have any problem with that if I found it funny, and I don't find it funny.
What through lines were you finding like pointless or like
the whole Pat Mulligan thing? Like they kept bringing him back throughout the movie, and they implied they were going to do something with him at the end of the film.
Him. Yeah.
The whole thing with the cop.
Yeah.
He was a weird little secondary character, but
like, again, they brought him back on purpose because in the comics he turns into Toxin, who's like the son of Carnage. The whole thing.
Okay, so I guess they put the seed for that. But
then they immediately dropped out the post-credit sequence, which we'll talk about later. So it feels like it's planting these seeds and then doing nothing with them. And at the very end, they kind of loosely slap on here's why you should feel sympathetic for Cletus Cassidy right before we kill him.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, because
they were trying. Oh,
sorry. Go on, Grant. You haven't.
They were definitely trying to do that throughout. The problem was it was just really generic when they did it. So it's like this is my family history. Okay, it's just you just kind of say it, and then it's like, and we're gonna get back to me being, psycho killer.
So
we get the
it's
bit
more
in the
or
end
less
where it's
Cletus
like,
Cassidy, to be fair. I think Woody Harrelson is
So-
good with the way he's given.
so here's the thing. Again, I think that we're in a situation where I think something is a self-aware joke, whereas I think that we're going to have a disagreement on that because there's a thing, the whole thing about the part at the very end of the movie where it's like, well, they didn't talk about Cletus when he was like abused and like all this stuff. It's like, yeah, sure. But the whole point is that no matter what your abuse is, you don't get to become a shitty person because of it and just be excused for it because you were abused.
I mean, the problem
And
isn't that
that's why the moment after he does that, they just straight up go like, well, fuck this guy and just like take him out. Like that's
I mean,
which was funny, by the way,
there in your face.
I mean, the problem is like it just feels like so out of nowhere and just kind of breaks anything going into it.
But that's the thing. Like
yeah.
he thinks he has this weighty, tragic storyline, and people are like, no, you're just a bad person.
I can see that logic. I don't think the filmmaking matches up with that.
That's kind of the issue. But unlike Michael, I found that freaking hilarious the way that transpired.
It was funny
because I actually got a good laugh with a F this guy.
You can say fuck.
All right.
We might get demonetized, Michael.
I don't know. We've sworn every video and they've never called me out on it. So
it's only when you swear within like the first 30 seconds or minute that it's a problem.
Not even now.
Right.
Nowadays, you just put a little rating and says this video has swearing on there, and they's like, "Cool, you're good," and then you're done.
All right, you're not for kids. We'll keep it off of YouTube, kids.
That's the thing, though. I'm back to doing like more like teaching stuff in essence. So I'm I'm in that watch what I say mode.
All right,
I'll say more often.
Fuck this guy, like fucking murder, and like. I think that if anything was just a really flat out admission that, hey, this is a joke. This guy is a joke. His whole through line in the movie.
Hypothetically, if it is
like
all a joke, sure, I can see that argument. But my problem with it is like the editing is so all over the place that it does like this is not Malignant where I can tell everything like that was intentional and carefully paced to support that.
No.
This
is not as good as Malignant.
The filmmaking is not up to par with that.
No, definitely not. It's got a lot of subpar elements. I do think that it kind of got the editor was on way too much coke. Like I don't know what their deal was, but they just wanted to jump around really fast, really cut down the runtime, keep it really brisk. Yeah. And
that's my problem with it.
I get that as a problem, but at the same time, I don't think that it destroys the movie. I just think that's something that happens to these movies. And it doesn't necessarily, it takes away from it, but it doesn't ruin it for me.
Yeah.
Okay. For you personally, I can see that. Fair enough.
For me, it's just, for the most part, it really wasn't super interesting a lot of the time. It's just, it's as you said, it's, I had the same issue with Malignant where like when it didn't quite go full in, for example, in here, Cletus Cassidy, not really going full blown psychotic or just going more with him.
Again,
it didn't really catch my interest. And I know that's part of the, and I get
an R-rated movie.
Yeah, I don't think an R-rated movie would have saved this material,
but it would have helped a little bit.
It would have helped a little bit, but not enough to save it. Like, as far as I'm concerned, not being R-rated is at least this movie's problems.
But if the fun of this movie comes from the violence and the ridiculous humor and like the hamminess and like the weird shock value, like you can definitely go much further into that if you had an R rating. Yeah,
kind of like with the like I said, I think I definitely enjoyed the humor more than Michael did at times. Like it was still just kind of hit and miss for me. Like that's why I said it's like for me, it's an average movie.
I laughed at some points here and there. Like I'm not like I like this better than the first movie for what it's worth.
For sure, we can all agree this is better than the first.
So like take that for what it's worth. However, it's more just like again. Especially in regards to Carnage, in the comic book, he's just like a laughing megalomaniac psycho, both in symbiote and without. Why is the symbiote the straight one in that relationship?
Yeah, and I will say though, I actually
weird choices like that.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I will say, I did like the direction they took. This whole thing with like the bickering married couple between Eddie Brock and Venom was such a great idea.
Just the whole rom-com element of it, just like. Them trying to cohabitate and oh god,
that.
what was the song that Venom was singing when he was cooking?
You say neither.
Oh, that you say tomato, I say tomato, 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 potato. Let's call the whole thing off.
Where did he hear this?
I don't know.
Is Eddie Brock normally listening to this music and he just picked up on it? Like it's just the notion of Venom being just this really clumsy but and id driven but helpful thing. Oh, the one part that for me, the part with the convenience store owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a chuckle out of
I
it.
really enjoyed that part. That part was pretty funny to me.
Yeah. I will say there is something else though. I did feel like there was something missing from Venom this time around. I know it has to do with the fact that even though they said Tom Hardy was the original voice, it was actually proven. I think it was actually disclosed that in the first movie it was actually a voice actor named Brad Venerable or something like that. And he actually passed away like late last year, earlier this year, and no. It was last year.
Why'd you have to make it sad, Grant?
Because I'm Captain Killjoy.
All right.
I know that's C&K, but whatever. Yeah, so I definitely felt like something was kind of missing here, but they still did a great job, especially going for like leaning more towards the humor route this time around. Yeah. And I think it definitely worked with trying to go for that manicness.
Yeah.
And like, here's the thing, like, it's not my favorite interpretation of that character, but I can still get behind it.
Yeah.
All right, sure. You want to make him like a bickering gay couple? Sure. Why not?
Yeah. This was another example, like on the topic of like things didn't quite feel right. Like it was weird how like it seemed like Eddie went from varying levels of like smart and intelligent to just being a complete idiot. Like with the beginning when they were doing that thing where it's like, look at these symbols. You know what this is? I don't know. Oh no, that's a tree. It's like, did you just lose like 30 IQ points? And then like there are other times where it's like he's like calm, cool, collected, can think things through. It's like that was a weird inconsistency that kind of bugged me.
I think he was just too irritated to do any better.
I can see that argument.
When you're pissed off and you're just like, stop showing me shit. I don't fucking care.
And what else? Like I said, the whole thing between like, Cletus and Shriek was just kind of whatever. And I
don't know, man. That scene where he broke her out was pretty romantic.
I actually did like that scene. I will like that was like okay. One legitimately good scene out of this plot line was actually the scene when it's like she breaks her out of the jail cell. I thought that was actually pretty cool.
And then the whole thing with when they're in the car, like that whole scene with Carnage, I thought was really interesting and impressive. I thought that was cool to watch.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that. Like, it's not like an irredeemable piece of shit. Like, God knows we've seen worse movies this year.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, those parts just didn't really do much for me. Like, it was
cool
okay.
To see. Like, as a comic fan, it's cool to see Carnage. Like, shit up. Like,
it was cool to see, but also I felt like even not being, a huge, I have some roots in it, but I'm not obsessed with it or anything. Like, I can't say I'm a fan necessarily. But compared to, other superhero movies, there was an interesting visual element. I think that the issue with a lot of superhero movies these days is that you get a lot of people walking into these movies who have absolutely zero connection to the source material, right? Mm-hmm. So they're not necessarily enamored with just seeing this thing on screen. They're not able to pull the whole J.J. Abrams bullshit where they say something on screen and then the person's like, oh, it's going to be the thing that I love. Like,
right.
They need to actually build up to it and have something interesting. So, and that's where we have things like a couple of my favorite Marvel movies are Ant-Man and Doctor Strange, because it's not just an escalation of like, oh, I'm stronger. It's not some Dragon Ball Z keep punching each other harder thing.
Fair.
There are different weird elements that are brought into the fights that make it interesting to watch. I think that Carnage as an element, like Carnage really works.
I don't know. If you're going for that argument, I would argue that's exactly what this movie does, which is like, I'm stronger. We have the almost exact same power set. Rah, rah, rah. Push the action figures together.
Well, for the final one, yes, but it's kind of indisputable that Carnage is just stronger.
Yeah.
Just period.
But again, like, if you're going off that logic, there's not a whole lot interesting visual differentiation between those two characters.
Yes, there is.
I mean, Carnage does do a lot more, like, especially the whole, like, blade stuff that happens.
Sure. Yeah, like, aside from the blade stuff, just, like, the amount of, like, shit that he can fling out of his body at once. Yeah. But just looking at that car sequence, he just makes this huge fucking webbing out of his body.
Keep in mind, I'm strictly talking about the climactic fight.
I'm not. I'm talking about, like, watching Carnage do his shit through the movie. Like, from the moment he enters the frame, you realize that he basically has much more varied and formidable Venom powers.
Yeah.
Whirlwind aside.
And it was I will still also admit that he pulled it off. At least they were able to make it more visually different compared to what's his face from the first movie.
I don't even remember, Wrath or something like that.
Yeah, no, it was just like, oh, it's just another symbiote. Okay,
which kind of proves the point of the previous one, at least.
Because I still remember that horrible line of dialogue in that first movie where it was like, Venom, get in the rocket. No, we won't let you destroy this world. Then die. I'm like, what the fuck?
I think one thing that we can probably agree on, I'm assuming, is what was girl's name? Was it Anne?
Anne,
the ex,
something.
Yeah, Anne.
Yeah. She was not really contributed anything much in the movie. There were a couple laughs here and there.
I mean, more than the first one, I'd argue, honestly.
She was a MacGuffin. She's always been a MacGuffin. Like,
I still got a laugh between like the conversations when it was her, Venom, and Ted were all involved.
Yeah, no, I love the dynamic between. I like that Venom's in love with her. Like the fact that Venom's just like, come on.
I will admit, but I did like that.
The part when they go to rescue her, like, gave me a good laugh. All right, oh shit, it's a red one. It's a red one. It's like, you know what? No, we're gone. We didn't even like her anyway.
And I like that. I wish they just toss a little more explanation to that, because I know in the comics, like,
bet there was another edit that had that in there, which is like,
where he explains why a red one is more of a problem.
Like, this is one case where I would love to see an extended version of this, because I could see there was just a lot that got cut out.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll get that this time, because they know more of the parameters they're working within, instead of trying to make an R-rated cut and then getting fucking smacked down by the studio and getting their film butchered. Like, this one may have just gotten butchered from an editing perspective, and there may actually be just, extra scenes that we can get a peek at later.
And maybe that's why this movie just did not really work for me, is because I could not stop seeing how butchered it felt.
Yeah.
And like, that's really the biggest detractor for me, from all the separate elements that are kind of fun in isolation, but put it all together, and it just feels like this feels slapped together at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It does not work.
Like, I know Andy Serkis is better than this.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
It feels like I don't blame Andy Serkis for this. This feels like it was taken out of his hands.
Exactly. But at the same time, I guess I have this thing where, even though I know that it was, clearly, there's some power was taken away from the director and the original creative team, I still found a lot of what they were trying to do and what was enjoyable about it. Personally.
Fair enough. I can see that.
And that's I try to look through that stuff, because I know that it's going to happen, and I don't want to punish a director and a film crew just because, like, they tried and they suffered studio bullshit. Like, it would be the difference between, like, original Suicide Squad and Justice League. like you said, nothing's going to save Suicide Squad, even the Ayer cut. There's nothing that's going to save. That's just going to be a bad movie, and David Ayer has proven since then that he's just not a good director anymore. And we have to wonder if he ever was. But, clearly, for better or for worse, whether you ended up liking it or not, Snyder had a vision, and at least you got to see what that was when you got the full cut. Like, there was stuff clearly changed and taken out. So when we're talking about studio interference, I feel like there was still something in there. Like, even though the original Justice League was super bland and kind of boring, there were elements in there where I was like, oh, this could have been cool. And I think I just do this thing now where I try to see what they were trying to do.
That's fair.
And what was able to survive the studio process.
Yeah, I can see
versus what they were trying to do and failed at, if that makes sense.
I get you. That makes sense. I do. And I can see that's a valid perspective to take. I think I always kind of like start off with the product I'm seeing in front of me and then kind of work backwards from there.
Yeah.
So in this case, I guess I'm like, as a whole, this movie does not work. But I can see, looking at all the pieces there, it's not the director's fault.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's got its fun bits.
Because
if you enjoy the first one, I feel like you can enjoy
goddamn movies unless it's animated. Seems to be the growing consensus there. God knows what the hell Morbius is gonna do. Which I still can't believe it's a movie we're getting.
Yeah, well, it exists, I guess.
It does.
What the hell was that?
Did he just like throw a shoe or something?
No, it's a coaster.
Oh, okay.
And I was holding it. I held it between my fingers and then just like popped it up. It just went way higher than I expected it to.
Past you.
Yeah.
So
it's like, what the hell was that? A paddle ball?
All right, should we talk about the post-credit scene?
Yes.
All right.
Because that kind of confirmed what we were thinking about for the trailer.
I'm so ready. I'm
Okay.
so ready.
Because I have a theory. I have an idea of how they can still salvage this and make it legitimately good.
Okay, just imagining this iteration of Venom interacting with Tom Holland.
Spoiler. All right.
We've been spoiling the movie this whole time.
You're the one that's always telling me about spoiling things.
Shit. This is the one element of the movie that's been everywhere. Everywhere has been spoiling this like up front. None of the publications have had any fucking respect for this.
Really? I haven't seen that anywhere.
I have seen it at least 3 places.
I've only seen it like maybe one time. I can't remember. 10 minutes remaining. Screw you, Zoom.
Literally, like the day after it came out, I saw a headline which was like, "This is confirmed, and this is like what we're gonna see," and like, I don't know. Anyway, like,
all right, now we've thoroughly gone over the fact of going to spoilers. Now we can talk about it.
Can we just put a fucking warning on this video? Like, we're just gonna spoil shit because we haven't really respected the spoiler line from the start of this.
All right. So, anywho, so yeah, I guess Venom. They decided just like through whatever Venom just in the MCU now. Sure. No, I don't know how they made that deal. No build up, nothing. Just flashy shit, and all of a sudden, oh, he's in the MCU now.
Which I think is hilarious and really speaks to just the clumsiness of this movie in general. They're just like, all right, it's happening now, and they're like, okay. But just the notion of Tom Hardy's Venom and Eddie Brock interacting with Tom Holland's Spider-Man is really funny to me. I feel like there's some real potential for just shenanigans.
Like, yeah, that's going to be interesting. And I remember like a lot of people were thinking he would be in there because I remember like when they dropped the No Way Home trailer, there's a part where you see kind of like the outline of a big hulking figure, like when one of the portals opens up, just like the faint outline of him. And
I think the
it's like
consensus that's a lizard. I think it's the comic consensus.
Well, now we know.
After this, I don't think so.
Hang on. Venom No Way Home trailer.
And I've seen that clip. I know what you're talking about.
It's Venom the part where like,
man, just, no way.
Yeah, it's like an OTS of Tom Holland as he sees like a portal opening in the dark, and it's like it's really faint, but you just see like big round shoulders and like head, like just bulking body, just like looking at him.
Oh, that's totally Venom. That 100% looks like Venom.
Yeah,
I guess we'll find out.
People are like, "Oh, it's the lizard." No, this looks like Venom.
Yeah,
very much.
Anywho,
although I'm wondering what Venom's motivation is to go after Spider-Man.
So
I didn't hear what he said. I was too busy going like, "Yes!" Like,
so
he just like, "Ooh, like I feel something."
Screen.
Huh?
Go ahead, Grant.
He's basically just like, "Ooh, I feel something." Lick.
Like, here's how I can like. I have a theory on how they could do this if they want to do it like actually well and like maintain the whole Venom story behind it. While still keeping the whole lover spat theme from these two movies. Which
Venom wants to eat Tom Holland and Eddie Brock is like, no, he's a kid.
No, it's more like Venom decides that Spider-Man is just a better host and just dumps him for him.
Oh,
is that why he's got the black suit? Maybe.
Maybe. But so my theory is like have it be that Venom like looks at this guy like, ooh, this guy's like an actual powers and shit. I want to try that out. So he just drops Eddie like a rock and goes over to Spider-Man. But he doesn't want to reveal himself right away because then he knows I'm like want to eat people. This is not the guy that's gonna do that with me. So I'm gonna play it cool for a while, and then you get to do like the black suit storyline for a while. Where Venom starts to really get infatuated with this guy.
Wait, how long?
Spider realizes what's going on, and Eddie this whole time is super pissed.
How long of a movie is No Way Home going to be?
I'm more thinking like for Venom 3 or the Venom sequel like that. I was like, if you want to do this story, here's the best way to do it and give Venom the reason to actually fight Spider-Man.
Sure.
So then you keep the usual stuff in there. What?
Sorry, I didn't realize it comes out in 2 months. I didn't realize it was that close.
December.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, so you keep the usual like the black suit story in there, and then Spider-Man rejects Venom, goes back to Eddie. Like both of them are super pissed now because they're both spurned lovers and mad at each other. And then that's where you lead into like the white spider symbol. That's when you have them go after Spider-Man. And that's like, I think there's a way to pull it off and make that genuinely good while still being on all the dumb bullshit these last two movies.
I can be a hero too. It's like what's
I'm going to be a better hero with blackjack and hookers.
In fact, forget the blackjack and hookers.
What was the name of the deadly...
The Lethal Protector.
The Lethal Protectors. There we go.
Yeah, that was Venom in the 90s.
I just imagine saying I can be I can be a hero too while he's holding a decapitated corpse in his hand. And then look over.
That's the thing. I really think that this has more value for slapstick comedy than for anything else.
If you do it that way, you can have it both ways. That is the case where you can legitimately have it both ways.
Yeah, why not?
Because you can still keep all the dumb bullshit the last movie's gone, but also still like actually building it back to Spider-Man lore in some way.
Yeah.
And I think like that'd be a way to like for me to salvage this fucking franchise because I've worried like I'm not having it so far. With what
it's like on the bright side, they're clearly shown they've got a better idea of where to take it. So like they're laying down the stepping.
Definitely a more confident movie.
Yeah.
But then again, we also go back to how Sony butchered this movie, and you gotta wonder is like, I don't know, man. I don't trust him for shit.
Well, if he's gonna be in the MCU, that's not in Sony's hands anymore, right? So.
Yeah. Plus, to be fair, technically, isn't it mostly in Sony's hands for like the Spider-Man movies?
I think they still that's when they bring Kevin Feige on board to manage everything.
Well, but that was the whole point. Like that was the huge deal with him suddenly showing up in Civil War, right? It had been such a big fight to get Spider-Man into the MCU. Yeah. And then when they finally worked that deal out because they realized that they would make more money with, Disney's huge honking fucking truckload of power behind it. And you get Venom into that same fucking like deal and see what money you can make off of that. I really regardless of what Sony wants to think about, like I don't know what the executives egos and everything are, but I know that there's a lot of fucking ego that goes around at those top levels. These people who don't do anything but business and they just make money off of the people actually doing the work and the artists and the creatives, and they want to feel like they're territorial, and it's this power trip. Yeah. It's fucking like bullshit masculinity.
That's why we lost out on we almost lost out on all this to begin with.
Yeah. So the idea that like they finally see the money in it and give up a little bit of that control, and they're like, oh yeah, maybe we'll make more money if Venom pops over the MCU. That's get a piece of that MCU pie. Yeah, sure, let's fucking do it. And maybe that'll lead to something better.
That's where we're gonna get like picking sides on a whole like Disney Sony debacle that happened a while back when the contract ran out, and I was like, oh, like Sony's taking on Disney, and like, guys, these are two of the biggest companies in the fucking world. Like, this is a pissing contest. There are no good sides here.
Yeah,
no, and Sony's not an underdog. Like,
it's absolutely not. They're one of the biggest like global conglomerates out there.
Yeah, like you can talk about the fact that Disney is what it is, and everybody knows what Disney is. But the fact that Sony is just like an underdog by comparison does not make them an underdog.
Ludicrous.
They still both have more money than God, like more money than any of us will ever see in 10 lifetimes.
By the way, 2-minute warning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to keep going or just want to wrap it up?
I think we're good.
Yeah. All right.
I'm good.
Wrap this up.
So
there's not a lot to say about this movie, really.
Yeah.
It is like, what it is.
Yeah,
you like it or you won't.
It's a your mileage will vary kind of movie. Like if you can get into like how crazy this thing gets, sometimes you'll have a good time. If you're looking for something with a bit more structure or substance, it might not fully land for you.
Although I love how during this hour we have watched like the light completely fade from my background. Like,
it's the Venom color palette.
Yeah, there was sun outside. Now you're literally just seeing the reflection of my monitors against the window. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say this: compared to the first movie, I don't feel like I regret watching it. I just, wasn't really all that into it. It had some moments, but overall, it was eh.
Yeah,
better.
I mean, like I was very underwhelmed by this movie. I think overall, I see pieces of value in it, but it doesn't come together in a way that captures my attention any weird way. I was mostly just kind of waiting for it to be over.
All right,
well, and that'll be it.
Probably it then.
Yeah, we're at less than a
minute. Feels like a good time to plug in my Venom editorial. Go watch that for my real thoughts on the character. Also, we have a new one. Judas just came out. Go check that one out too. Thank you guys for watching. See y'all later. Bye.